3AW 693. This is Andrew McLaren.
And what a pleasure it is to welcome to Overnight, making one of his rare cameo appearances. How much do we have to pay extra for this?
Oh, no, my services for you are free. A long admirer of yours, doing breakfast radio all those years.
That's right, it's magic.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Well, thank you, I'm blessed. Thank you very much.
And it's an honour to be in Studio 1 as opposed to Studio 2, where
it's always nightliners over there.
We second-rate people have to work out of Studio 2.
It was supposed to be sort of a rotation system in this building, wasn't it, Simon?
Oh, it was, but no one got it right. So.
Yeah, it was supposed to sort of go Keith McGowan over there, over the other side.
Yeah, there's a story about this. When we were in Bank Street,
yes,
there were two studios, as you would recall, for 3AW. There was one big booth where the big people sit, the Neil Mitchells and all that sat. But there were two control rooms. But in what we called the second studio, Studio 3, that was where Keith McGowan used to work. Now, with that studio, the thermostat for the studio was mounted on the wall behind the producer's chair. So whenever the producer stood up, the chair would smash into the thermostat and break it and knock it off the wall.
All right.
As a result, that room was just consistently pumped full of freezing cold air.
It was too. It was always. I never hardly went, but every time it was frigid.
It was freezing cold.
It was
so
too.
Nobody would work out of there. And the idea with these studios was that you would, whilst Neil Mitchell was on air doing his show, Dennis or Ernie back then could come in and set up for his show in the other studio. So at news time at midday, Neil says goodbye. Ernie walks in, and you switch the control room over, and bang, there you are. Everyone's set up, ready to go. Producers in place, the panel operators there. It was a wonderful setup. But because it was always cold, everybody worked out of the bigger studio, Studio 2 as it was there. So when everyone moved here, we sit in identical studios. There's Studio 1 where we are now,
yes,
and the studio that Bruce and Phil work out of, Studio 2. We've all come here, and every producer, like trained monkeys going for bananas, they were, oh, okay, well, that's the main studio. And no, you can work out of that one. Oh, no, this is the main studio.
This is the one you go to. But it was the same. May I go back even further to LaTrobe Street?
Yeah.
Now, LaTrobe Street, when I worked there in the late 70s at 3AW, there was the big studio, which was ridiculously big. It was ludicrous. It had couches and everything in it. And you could have actually held a small dancing competition in it, right?
Yes.
Because I think originally it had been where they cut the discs. It was a factory area of 3AW where they cut the discs for all the Macquarie shows that came out of that building.
Oh,
right?
yes, yes.
In the early 1950s. Anyway, whatever it was, because it had this big chute where a chimney had gone up to let the smoke out in it. Anyway, and that was the one used. But there was another one across the way on the other side of the studio foyer. There were another two upstairs. Oh. One of them was a bit ordinary, but
fancy times.
Yes, but that was the one, that main one on the right as you walked in.
Everyone worked out of there.
And there was no real need at all to use. But people, it shows you what creatures of habit we all are, doesn't it?
We are. Madness.
That's where I work from, and that's where I worked from before, so I'm going to continue to work from that.
I never had the pleasure of working at LaTrobe Street. The most fascinating thing about LaTrobe Street, David Mann tells a story of a lady, after we moved from LaTrobe Street to Bank Street, David Mann tells a story of a lady who came and said, I used to live at 382 LaTrobe Street. He said,
yes.
You used to live there? Yes, it was my house. It was this
Really?
lady lived there as a little girl.
Good Lord.
It was their house. So it was before. I know it was. I don't know, what was it before?
Well,
a convent or something?
No, it was something very odd because it was a strange building. It had most of it was a courtyard. It only had buildings around the edge of it. You walked in through a driveway. You drove into a cobblestoned courtyard, and there was a narrow building on your left, a narrow building at the back, that's where the studios were, a very narrow building, because it wasn't a very wide block of land. You imagine how narrow these buildings were.
Yes.
On the left-hand side. So it was like three-sided triangle, square, and there was, one side was the sales area, one side was administration, at the back were the studios. That was it. It was very odd.
Okay. Well,
I don't know what his background was, no.
Well, I'm not sure what it was, but David always thought, oh, well, the building was erected to be such and such a building. But this lady said, no, before that it was a house, and I used to live there as a child. And this was quite an elderly woman, but this is going back to, when would it be, 1992-ish? So we'd been out of LaTrobe Street for a year or two. And so David said, look, I'm with the fire brigade. I'll get a key and we'll go and have a look around. So he's taken this lady in these premises, which were soon to be demolished, and he's taken her up the stairs and into I've forgotten who. I think it was Claudia's office.
Oh,
the room that was Claudia's office. And she said, "Oh yes, this was my bedroom. The fireplace was just there." And David said, "Fireplace?" And she said, "Yes, there was a fireplace there." "No, look, we must be in the wrong room because there's never been a fireplace here. It's always been that plaster there." And she said, "Oh no, it's a fireplace." So David Mann went over and kicked the wall in, kicked the plaster.
Soon to be demolished building.
Soon to be demolished, yes. Yeah. So he's kicked the wall in, and sure enough, there's this lovely old fireplace there. Isn't that a lovely story?
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes.
I didn't realise it had been much altered over the years. Anyway, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I know that they were really trying to save it, the National Trust too, when they redecorated 3W while I was there. They found in the reception area there was a magnificent mural painted of radio in the 1940s by Charles Bush, the Australian artist, a quite noted Australian artist.
Oh, wow.
And he'd been hired by AW when they first moved to those premises from the...
To jazz it up a bit.
Her Majesty's Theatre or something they were in originally.
Yes, that's right, yes.
To sort of jazz up the reception area. And they knocked off some false plasterwork, and there it was underneath. Now, how, if it ever survived, David Mann would be the only person in this building who would know if it ever...
Yeah.
There was talk of actually taking it out, which was a very complicated process.
Yeah, it would have been too.
Taking a mural out. But it was fabulous. I never saw it. But
Sad if it's lost. I'd love to know if there's a photo of it.
It was, it would be the length of the wall behind you if it occupied the whole of the reception area. That's right. Anyway, now that's not why we sort of gone off on a tangent. Haven't we? It's very interesting.
That's what I do. I waffle uncontrollably about stuff that doesn't matter to anyone really but me.
That's very interesting. I found.
But now, last hour, you were touching on the football legends and stuff.
That's right.
And somebody mentioned Peter McKenna, and I thought, oh yes, first co-host of Hey Hey It's Saturday, and I wrote a little scribbled thing handed to you because I thought interesting. You weren't aware that Peter McKenna was the original co-host of Hey Hey?
See, I was a bit too old for Hey Hey when it came along, just as a kids program.
Yes.
When was it starting as a kids?
1971.
No. See, I'm a teacher in 1971. For your age group, yes, that was a show you would have watched.
Oh well, I
never saw it as a kids cartoon program.
Well, I was born in 71, so I have no recollection of Peter hosting it.
Oh God,
I know.
Feel old.
I'm so young. I'm just a little boy.
Yes.
But Peter McKenna was the first co-host, and I loved Hey Hey, so I learned a bit about the history of it. But Ken Francis, who's older than me, he tells the story of Peter McKenna having to have he had the choice. He was happily co-hosting Hey Hey It's Saturday, which was an early morning show from 6:30 a.m. till 9:30 or something original.
It was just cartoons and Daryl, wasn't it? And the bird.
Yeah, well, it was originally Daryl. Peter McKenna, because he was a champion footballer of the day, and who wouldn't want to? What kid wouldn't want to watch a football player co-hosting a TV show? So it was the two of them, and Blackers wasn't the original voiceover man. There was a couple of weeks before Blackers came along that someone else did it. It wasn't Pete Smith, but one of Nine's booth announcers said, "Oh no, there's no future in this. I'm going." And so John Blackman took over, and it took off from there. But Peter McKenna was the original co-host, and Peter McKenna, of course, getting up at 4 on a Saturday morning when all football matches were played on Saturday afternoons, comes in, does a 3-hour television show, and then he'd wander out onto the footy field stuffed.
And so I hadn't thought of that.
So his coaches, whoever the coach was at the time, has said to him, "Mate, you've got a choice. You've got a promising football career. You're a champion footballer, or you can waste your time on this TV thing." Well, of course, what's the lifespan of a footballer? At best, you get, 10 years or so out of the match? Well, Hey Hey, of course, ran for 25 years. But Peter McKenna gave it away because he had this promising football career.
Gee, I wonder if he's kicked himself about that over the years. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because you think, how many people have come from outside of the world of entertainment into the world of entertainment, like Peter McKenna, if only briefly in his case.
Yes, well, exactly. There's, in football itself, there's a few, of course, and especially in this day and age.
Oh, yeah, Dermot Brereton has become a full-time media personality, really.
Gary Lyon.
Yeah.
From our own station here.
Shane Crawford.
Yes, of course.
Done very well as, hosting on the postcard show and all the rest of it.
From our own station here, Jared and Dwayne.
Yeah, exactly.
Done very well. And the absolute biggest of them all. And now I stumbled in when Jared and Dwayne a couple of years ago were talking about who is And this is another complete separate topic. What we thought would be good would be to get the list of, make the official list on 96900 693, the official list of everyone who's come from outside television, from like a sporting field or something, and made a success in television.
Can I throw in a couple of wild cards here? People have come out and become huge stars on TV from not necessarily sport background. What about Professor Julius Sumner Miller with his Why Is It So science shows in the 1970s, which you wouldn't remember, I suppose. But
no, and if it wasn't for Cadbury, I'd never have heard of him. But no, what a sensational campaign that was.
He was a university lecturer who came into television, I would say at an advanced age, well into his 50s or 60s, and became an international star.
Sucking eggs into milk bottles.
That's right.
What a career.
That's right.
Good on him.
Yeah, that's a very good topic. I reckon it's great.
Now I'll give just one more. I won't give the one I was going to give, who is the biggest sporting personality of all time in this country, who made he wasn't the biggest sportsman in this country, but he is internationally known. Internationally known, internationally successful, but had started his career as an Australian rules football player in the VFL. And he went on to become an international star. And nobody ever stops and thinks about this. But I won't name him. Someone will ring through, 96900 693, and guess it. And another one, though, the other one which I will give, my last one for the list, Tim Watson.
Oh, yes. Done for 7 News man now. Yep. And very comfortable at the desk, isn't he?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
As well as being on the ground with on the game days too as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. 96900 693. Simon, I think it's great. Who has come from outside of the world of entertainment to suddenly become, or in most cases actually, quite suddenly become TV stars or media stars. Well, they broaden it a bit because not necessarily TV.
Well, yeah, exactly. And we've rattled off a bunch of sports people, but there's other places than sports they can come from, as you say, with Professor Julius Sumner Miller.
That's right. Well, we've got a call here. Paul, good morning.
Andrew, hi, how are you?
Terrific. Paul?
I was going to say Richo has made it from the Tigers Football Club onto 7 and 3AW.
He has too.
Yeah, and done very well too.
Yeah, Richo man.
And his analysis is very good, I think, too. I think he does that excellently.
Spot on. He should have been doing it for the last 10 years, you think so?
I don't know who this superstar that Simon is talking about is, though. That's...
People are always stunned when they guess it. And as I say, I was talking, Paul, you might be able to have a guess at it. I was talking to Gerard and Dwayne once. They were taking calls on which sportsman is the most famous globally, and they were talking.
I would say Brian Taylor, but it's not.
Very politically correct, though. Thank you for that.
Very good. You'll get a job here, Paul. Thank you, Paul. You're wrong, but good guess. Very nice try.
Thank you for Richo too. A good addition to the list. Yeah, 96900 693. Somebody who's come from outside of the world of entertainment and tasted the giddy heights of it all, like you and I have, Simon.
Well, we certainly have. Yes, that's why we're here at 1 a.m.
Very modest pay packets. But you don't mention that, do you? Because you're here for the love of it.
No, exactly right.
96900 693. Yvonne, good morning.
Good morning. Did that guy just say Matthew Richardson?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I was on the phone, so I missed it. Yeah, you missed out on him.
Oh, yeah, well, I stole on your thunder. Yeah, Matty has gone down very well, hasn't he, as a commentator. His transition from player to media person has been very good.
And he's so dry. His humour is so dry. You know, he'll be commentating and they'll be talking about the Pigeons or something because the game's going really bad. And he'll... Why are we talking about the Pigeons? There's a footy game going on. It's just so dry. Now, is it Shane Warne?
No, it's not. But that's a very good example of someone who has become famous. But what media has Shane Warne done? Well, outside of cricket and his sponsorships and his advanced hair studio ads, what has Shane achieved?
He had a failed TV show.
He had a woeful TV show.
Well, yes. I wouldn't have been quite so blunt. But
I'm tough. I'm uncompromising.
Shock jock.
Yes.
I'm not often in the presence of one. Thank you, Yvonne, for your call. We've got Cameron on the line. Cameron, a very good morning to you. You there, Cam?
Yep, Cameron's just coming through now.
Yeah,
How are you, Cameron?
Oh, that's very quick. That's about the quickest I've ever been on.
That's how we like to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Andrew doesn't keep you waiting.
No.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of Graham Richardson. There's been a few other politicians.
Senator Graham Richardson. That's a good one.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, there's been a few other politicians, and I'll leave that for other people to try and remember who they were. But I'm pretty sure there's a few other politicians that have.
And we should explain, Cameron, Senator Graham Richardson has a show on Sky News Channel on cable TV.
That's right.
Where he does a very good job, I have to say.
Excellent, yeah. A few times I've seen it. But it's not this international name you talked about who started off as an AFL footballer.
Well, a VFL footballer.
Oh, that long back.
Yes, VFL footballer.
Do you know it's been AFL for like 28 years or something like that now, you know?
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
How it's flown by. We go from Cameron to Darren. Good morning, Darren.
Oh, yeah, Mark Jackson.
Oh, what a ripper. He is a ripper. Mark Jacko Jackson.
Yes, a legend of sorts.
Well,
yes.
he had a hit. He had a top 10 single. I'm an individual, you can't fool me. An bloody-vidual, you can't fool me.
Was that a hit overseas?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't.
As far as I know. But it is a ripper. Mark Jacko Jackson. Now, you know what I'd be doing? If I was running a radio station, I'd be having him on a commentary team somewhere. Because wouldn't you just love to hear Jacko's thoughts on the game?
I know. Do we need Peter, do we need a break at this point? We're right. Okay, we'll keep rolling. Thank you, Darren, for the Mark Jackson comment. Yes. Remember those handstands in the goal square? And remarkable.
And the Energizer battery ads. Oi! All of that stuff.
Jeff's on the line. Hello, Jeff. You there, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you now.
Oh, sorry, guys. It wouldn't be Rex Hunt, would it, Simon?
You are spot on.
Yeah, I thought it had to be with the fishing show. That's gone international.
Rex Hunt's fishing show, shown in 90-something countries around the world. He is an extremely famous person. And as testament to that, you know the band Simply Red?
Yes.
And the lead singer Mick Hucknall?
Yeah, the red-headed. Yeah,
he came into 3AW to be interviewed by Ernie Sigley. And he's walked in the foyer back in Bank Street, and he's walking past the wall of photos. A bunch of people he never would have clapped eyes on, never would have cared about. Bruce and Phil and Ernie and Ross and Dean, as it was back then. And he passes the football commentary team, and there's a photo of Rex Hunt, and he nearly had a meltdown.
Really?
He was in awe of the fact that Mick Hucknall from Simply Red was in awe of the fact that he was in the same building that was occupied by Rex Hunt.
Well done, Jeff.
Good on you, Jeff.
Yeah, that is excellent. What a pity there's not a prize attached. You know,
what a shame.
If it was primetime radio, you'd be getting another couple of bottles of De Bortoli, though I have a feeling, Jeff, at this stage, you must have a cellar full of them.
A couple, guys. And listen, when you say you saw Rex's picture, obviously that was back in the days before Andrew's picture was up there.
Oh, well, of course. If he had have wandered in and saw Andrew's picture on the wall, who knows what would have happened.
He would have fallen to his knees, Jeff.
Exactly right.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Rex Hunt, I didn't realise that fishing show was so big.
Oh, yeah, huge. Internationally huge. He's got a massive following.
Wow.
Rex told me the story once, because I used to produce his radio fishing show here at 3AW, and he told me the story of getting a letter that was just addressed, it was from England, and it was addressed Rex Hunt, Australia. And it got to...
Wow.
God, it came from a little, like a 10-year-old boy fan in England.
It's 1:24. Are you going to stick on for a couple more calls?
Oh, yeah, sure thing.
Thank you. Simon Owens, special celebrity guest here on the Overnight program on 3AW. No, come on, we've got to build your profile,
that's
buddy.
Stretching it a bit. No, I'm the reluctant announcer.
Oh, come on, you love it. His eyes, and you should see him now. He's putting on his special announcer outfit. Yeah. And he trots it out in the cupboard.
With the cape.
That's right, which read super announcer on the back, or super jock. 1:25, we must take a break at this point.
Ross and John.
Jeff, are you an accountant, by the way?
No, I'm not. I'm a truck driver. Can't flight stewards or hostesses claim both makeup and haircuts as a tax deduction?
We'll put it on the list and we'll ask Alan the accountant when we get him.
Back this morning on your radio.
What's the most unusual thing you can claim as a truck driver as an expense?
Probably your Melway if you're lucky.
GPS?
Yeah, depending on who you work for. When you're just on wages, it's probably a bit harder, I think.
3AW 693.
What about your no-dose tablets?
No, none of them, guys.
Oh, righto. Renovation's finally finished.
Not quite. A few new items to finish.
Our old stuff is fine.
Springvale Homemaker Centre have style sessions with an experienced interior designer. I could book in, get the right thing, first time.
Shop, explore, relax at Springvale Homemaker Centre. Close to 30 homemaker retailers, including Howard's Storage World, Furniture Galore and Beacon Lighting. Free undercover parking, plus it's family friendly. Find out more. Follow us on Facebook or visit springvalehomemakercentre.com.au, corner Princes Highway and Westall Road.
A home theatre, alfresco kitchen, a butler's pantry. Why dream when you can build the home you want right the first time? Busby Homes makes designing and building your dream home stress-free and specialise in custom homes, sloping blocks and knockdown rebuilds. Busby will work with you to create your new home design and plans completely from scratch. So don't settle for a standard home. Let Busby Homes build you a truly custom designed home to suit your lifestyle. busbyhomes.com.au.
Autumn leaves are falling, and you know what? So do people when they get up those ladders. Please don't fall. Seriously. Hi, I'm Thea from Leaf Busters. Stop cleaning your gutters. Leaf Busters should be on your roof, not you. Call Leaf Busters now on 1300 Gutter. That's 1300 4888 37 for your free measure and get a huge 17.5% off this autumn. Who are you going to call? Leaf Busters.
Last time, you emailed us because you want to spoil your 5-year-old with a cubby house. He never complains. Kirsty, it is going to happen.
Thank you so much.
All this week, we're doing it again. Whether you'd like to have someone do the household chores for a week, learn to play a musical instrument, or take the family on a holiday to the Gold Coast, I could make it happen. Visit 3aw.com.au and tell us what you'd like me to make happen for you.
Dennis Make It Happen for Tobin Brothers Funerals, celebrating lives, and 3AW 693. On 3AW 693, Andrew McLaren.
27 past 1, you're overnight with 3AW. Andrew McLaren here. No Mark Petkovic, but the good news for the moment, Simon Owens. We're talking about footy legends and all the rest of it, and Karen's with us. Hello, Karen.
Just before we say hello to Karen, might I say, no one better to talk about footy legends than you and me. Really?
No, we were so close to getting that commentary gig on football, weren't we?
I know.
That was either going to be Breety or you and I, wasn't it?
Look, it was Fox Footy. They dedicate a third channel to us. It was going to be marvellous.
Perhaps we're telling too much about private lives, but yes, there were big offers out there for us to
exactly
to take over from Bruce and McAvaney and all the rest of them. Karen, in the meantime. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Simon and Andrew. Cameron Ling, the old John captain, he's got a spot on Sports Today on the radio, but I'm not sure about TV.
Yes, Cameron's on TV. Yes, he's on 7. He's part of the commentary team on TV, and is good. Yes, another one who's made a smooth transition, I would say, from the game to, and he's got a nice, good head on his shoulders too. Cameron, the way he speaks,
He's a
good
businessman,
brain.
yeah. He's got a lot of restaurants and things or something down in Geelong, I think.
Has he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he owns heaps of restaurants. Now, Olympic swimmer, maybe you can help me out on this. There's an Olympic swimmer, not Eamon Sullivan, I don't think, but there's someone like him. He used to do, I don't know if he still does, some TV work.
An Olympic swimmer. Now, let me, because we're such keen sports followers, let me list all the ones I know. It should take 30 seconds. Now, it would be Michael Klim. I know he had a thing with milk.
I know he did some presenting. I think something to do with sport, and I can't think what it is.
Someone will know.
Yeah, someone will know. Thank you, Karen, for your call. Thank you for that. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Robert?
Very well. How are you talking about LaTrobe Street?
Yes, 382 LaTrobe Street, the old premises for 3AW.
Correct.
Dial 329-7522 to speak to Alex Kenworthy right now. How many times I said that? Anyway, yes, Robert. I'm sorry, we're interrupting.
Am I on air?
Yes, you are. Yeah, loud and clear.
You're talking about the old radio station at LaTrobe Street. That belonged to my family for many years.
It used to belong to your family?
Correct, yes.
Okay. In what capacity? Was it the house, the family house?
You spoke about my aunt visiting there.
Oh, was that your aunt?
I've heard that story several times on 3AW over the years, and I've never ever phoned back, but I suddenly decided, well, I'll phone you tonight and tell you all about it. My grandfather arrived in Melbourne in 1892 and lived in Dudley Street, and he became a bed manufacturer.
Yeah.
And from there he went to Chetwynd and Howard Streets, North Melbourne, and then he bought the property in LaTrobe Street. I can't tell you exactly when, maybe about late 1890s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was our bed manufacturing business. But in the front, we had offices, but the family lived upstairs.
That would make sense, yes.
And there was you went in through the entrance, there was I talk about the cobblestone courtyard.
Yeah, that's right, yes, I remember it.
But at the rear, there was a two-storey section. That's where we made all the beds. I've got many photos of the area.
How wonderful! Photos from the old era, have you?
In that area, yes.
Wow.
We sold the property. We sold the property around about 1920s, I think, because we then went into the motor car business, and we needed bigger premises, and we moved around the corner from there into Elizabeth, on the corner of Elizabeth and Ferry Street.
Can I ask a question here, Robert? If I can ask a question, what was the name of the bedding company? What was it called?
It was called Jas, J-A-S-A, Munro, M-U-N-R-O, and Company.
Isn't that wonderful?
And they trade under the name of Comfo Beds.
Comfo Beds, right? So
and we made beds up until 1970.
Oh, did you? Yes, but obviously not at 382 LaTrobe Street. Well, that would fit in with, because it never, when Simon was telling me the story before, Robert, of how a lady had slept in the...
That was my aunt.
I know that. I understand that now. But it just never struck me as a place that could ever have been a house. But it had obviously been commercial premises with a residence attached.
Yes, it was all one building though.
Well, yes, it was one building.
They lived upstairs. My father told me many stories. They played all that area.
When you're standing in front of the building, just for my sake, and this is getting a bit too detailed, we've got to move on to other things, but when you stand in front of the building looking at it, were the domestic quarters on the left or the right-hand side, Robert?
Looking from the street on the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side. Oh, that became the main offices of the 3AW.
There's also, you mentioned the mural.
Yes, that was, I think, painted in the early 50s or late 40s.
No, it would have been done later than that.
Oh, yeah? Well, possibly, yes.
Yes, they were done by Charlie Bush.
I thought so.
Well, you had a very clever engineer who worked there, Albie Duval. You wouldn't know him, but they needed his workshop, and he then rented premises from me in Queen Street, and he used to... Charlie Bush's girlfriend was the receptionist at 3AW.
I heard that story. That's how he actually, or one of the reasons he got the job. Look, Robert, we are running a little out of time at this particular point. It's lovely to talk to you, and I think, Simon, perhaps I'd like to have another chat with you on another occasion.
Yeah, it'd be great to catch up with you, Robert, and hear some more info about it.
What's the name? Is it David Mann?
David Mann is our promotions manager here, yes.
Tell him to contact me. I've got lots of stories for him.
I bet he has. Terrific, Robert. Hold the line. We'll get your details. In the meantime, we better take a break here. It's 26 to 2.